I have been working on the coronavirus ICU since March 27th. That was the day that I first went down there. It has been a whirlwind, and I've had some of my best days at work ever and some of my worst days at work ever. My name is Mary Catherine Keckeisen. I am 23 years old. I'm from Dallas, grew up, went to Highland Park, HPUMC all the way through from, age 4 to 18. Went to Georgetown University for undergrad and did nursing while I was there, and then came back to Dallas after I graduated to work at Parkland Hospital. First thing that I thought when I heard about the coronavirus was that it would never come to us. I'm young, but I've lived through several pandemics, I guess, like the Ebola in Africa, and then I remember a bit of SARS, and then there was H1N1, and so I remember some outbreaks, and they never really affected me personally. And it was only until it came to Washington State, I believe, was some of the first kind of outbreaks in America. That's when it started to become real. That's when we started to talk about it at work, talk about what the plan was going to be. And that's when I started to get a little bit more anxiety regarding the fact that this could be a very big deal. And they started talking more and more about potentially making a whole unit for coronavirus. The next day at work, actually, I was sitting outside of my patient's room charting, and one of the managers came up to me, and it just happened. I just got lucky, actually. They were literally walking down the hall and asking every nurse if they wanted to be a temporary, permanent person on the coronavirus ICU. So one of my managers asked me, and I immediately texted my roommate because I wanted to so badly, but I didn't want to if it made her uncomfortable. And she was so in favor of it. She was so supportive of me. And so I volunteered. I was excited because it was like the Wild West. Like, nobody knew it. At that point especially, we didn't know how to treat these patients. We were doing the best we could. We still are, but we have a little bit more science now. And part of me volunteering also is I knew that this was going to be an outbreak. I knew that it was, at this point, it was going to be bad. One shift, when I came in for an overtime shift, and I immediately walked into a code blue. They were in process, which means a patient's heart has stopped. They were doing a chemical code only, meaning they were pushing a bunch of very powerful drugs to get this man's heart started. This man had been on the unit for a couple of weeks, and he was only in his 20s. And the doctors were trying to call his family and get them on a Zoom conference. We have these monitors that they pull over to the bedside, and the family can talk to their loved one. And so we were, again, pushing drugs, doing everything we could in order to keep this young man alive. This guy who was, only a couple years older than I was. And eventually this man died. And this man died without being able to see his family, obviously, and without his family being able to see him take his last breaths. We knew, obviously, we had done our very best. And when that's not good enough, it's really hard, especially, again, when the family doesn't get to say goodbye. It really stinks. It really stinks. I just had felt very burned out. At that point in time, we were in the middle of our first surge. So my mom texted me and said, "Hey, by the way, HPUMC is doing a service for the healthcare providers at Parkland." And I got up just a little bit earlier, got dressed and ready for work at Parkland just a little bit earlier than I normally would, and was able to go downstairs and be at that service. And it was phenomenal and exactly what I needed. Matt preached a phenomenal message about ordinary people who do extraordinary things.
Sometimes we think that what God wants us to do is something totally extraordinary. that God wants us to be the people that go out there and do something that nobody else has ever done before. But I think that so often what God actually calls us to do is to do the ordinary, daily things in our lives and to do them faithfully.
Seeing the recoveries, watching people walk for the first time or sit up, or when a patient got her breathing tube taken out and was able to call her family, and watching those little girls on the other end of the Zoom call bawl their eyes out as they saw their mom with her breathing tube taken out, that's where God shows up. In moments like that, that's what keeps us going. Everybody can be a hero. It's not just people on the front lines. It's people wearing their mask in the grocery store as an act of love for those around them. You know, it's people, again, going to work from home or staying inside away from that social gathering. Those are the heroic actions. It's not just what I'm doing. It takes a village in order to fight a virus, I found. It's not just healthcare workers, it's everybody involved who's the hero here. That's what makes me happiest. Just seeing people kind of fighting the virus in their ordinary ways, that is awesome.